Do not eat the bread of a miser, nor desire his delicacies. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. The morsel you have eaten you will vomit up, and waste your pleasant words. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we continue to share together thoughts based on the words of Solomon from Proverbs chapter 23, verses 6 to 8. And in this chapter we have several warnings, beginning with the phrase, do not. Now he says, do not eat the bread of a miser, nor desire his delicacies. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. The use of the word miser here, though, is an interpretation. For the Hebrew says, one who has an evil eye, one who is looking out for advantage for himself. To be a miser is maybe one form of this, that you keep everything to yourself. But this person is offering you delicacies, is speaking nice words to you, but it is to get an advantage over you. It is not because of genuine love and compassion. He wants something from you, and so he softens you up by offering you nice food and pleasant words. One who has an evil eye. He has an agenda. His purpose is not for your benefit. The purpose is for his benefit. With his mouth he's saying, eat and drink, my friend. But with his heart he's thinking, how am I going to defraud this person? He is just doing it for himself. So the warning then is that we need to be aware of the character of people that we accept hospitality from, that we accept gifts from. We need to think, where are they coming from? Now, this frequently happens in politics, where people who want something will make themselves friends with politicians, giving them gifts, contributing a lot of money to the political party. But it's not that they're interested in the politics. They are interested in the contracts that they can gain, or the laws that they can have passed which enable them to make money in the society. I understand the same thing happens with respect to doctors, because there's so much medicine dispensed. So doctors are liable to receive gifts from pharmaceutical companies in the expectation that the doctor will prescribe that company's medicines. And it's rife in advertising. Organisations and companies offering you a free trip or something nice, a holiday, if you will sign up with them. But not everyone gets the free trip. Not everyone gets the holiday. They just get your money. The warning is that if you accept his delicacies, the morsel you have eaten you will vomit up and waste your pleasant words. It will all turn sour on you. We need to think about what is in their heart and see what their real character is. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. As Jesus said, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. The warning of the proverb, though, is not just to listen to the superficial invitation, inviting us eat and drink, but to discern the agenda, and not to desire his delicacies, not to be influenced by offers of nice things, because everyone knows that's the way to get advantage of most people. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So Solomon is saying his heart is not with you. The morsel you have eaten you will vomit up and waste your pleasant words. In the book of Esther, we have the story of a very ambitious man, Haman. He made himself indispensable to King Ahasuerus. and therefore got promoted. But his agenda was not the well-being of the kingdom. His agenda was not even the well-being of the king. His agenda was just his advancement, his power, his glory, his honour. He coveted the throne himself. He's a typical example of a person with an evil eye. That never dawned on King Ahasuerus. There was a Jew, Mordecai, who hung around the court of King Ahasuerus because his niece, unbeknownst to the king or anybody else, was actually the Queen Esther. And just observing what was going on, he quickly realized the evil in Haman. And when Haman was promoted and demanded that people bow down to him, Mordecai said, "I will not bow down to that evil man." And when it was reported to Haman, he said, "I'm a Jew. I only worship God." Haman determined not only to evict Mordecai from the king's courtyard, but to destroy Mordecai and all the Jews as well. Haman came before the king and, with deceptive words, claimed, "There's a people among your nation who are an evil people. I will give the king a large sum of money for the king to use to get rid of these terrible people." And the king took the advice that Haman offered because of the flattery that Haman poured upon him. And since Haman was the chief adviser to the king, nobody could approach the king except through Haman. So the Jews had no avenue of seeking justice or making their case. They woke up one morning to know that on the 13th of the last month of the year, they were to be exterminated. But Esther, the queen, was a Jew, and with encouragement from Mordecai, she undertook, at the risk of her own life, to make a personal plea to King Ahasuerus for her life and for the life of her people. Although it was against the law for her to approach the king, and the king hadn't approached her for over a month, she went before the king at the risk of her life, and was received and invited him to supper, and invited Haman to come as well. The king accepted, and at the supper Esther invited them both to come back the following night. As he went home, Haman was relishing in the glory, only he was invited to come with the king. But then he saw Mordecai, and determined Mordecai must die. He ordered gallows to be built that night, and he would request Mordecai be hung in the morning. But that night the king could not sleep, and read in the records that Mordecai had uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. What's been done for Mordecai? Nothing. And in the morning, when Haman approached, the king ordered Haman to dress Mordecai in royal robes, place him on the king's horse, and proclaim to the people of the city, "Thus shall be done to the man whom the king delights to honour." That evening at supper, Esther pleaded her life and the life of her people before the king. And the king said, "Who would think to take the life of my queen?" And she identified Haman. Well, the Jews were rescued, and Haman was executed on the gallows he'd prepared for Mordecai. And the king was very angry with himself that he had been duped by Haman. He hadn't seen Haman's evil heart. Do not eat the bread of a person with an evil eye, nor desire his delicacies, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. The morsel you have eaten you will vomit up, and waste your pleasant words.